Welcome to another episode of When We Were Young. Yes, I'm your good friend Belinda Sunshine. Now remember that famous line by William Shakespeare? All the world's a stage, and all men and women are merely players. Yeah, I'm one of them. And today I would love you to meet someone. She is so special and so glam. A multi-talented singer, actress, and theatre practitioner, Jacintha Abisheganaden is a legend of the Singapore entertainment scene. Born in 1957, Jacintha was exposed to music from a young age through her parents' influence. She also learned to play the piano and was also part of the Singapore Youth Choir in her teenage years. Given her talents, it was no surprise to anyone when Jacintha won Talentine in 1976 at just 19 years old. She also picked up an acting award in 1981, and just 2 years after that, she released her debut album Silence in 1983. The album featured songs written by Dick Lee and was well received. Jacintha would go on to collaborate with Dick on many of the latter's theatre productions, including his first Asian operetta from 1992, Nagaland. The show was performed to full houses in Japan, Hong Kong, and Singapore. In addition, Jacintha performed in much-loved local musicals such as Beauty World and Fried Rice Paradise. She also played the lead role of Grisabella in Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cats when the show was staged in Singapore in 1993. As they closely collaborated in the entertainment scene, Jacintha and Dick got married in 1992. The high-profile couple would eventually go their separate ways in 1997. Even so, Jacintha continued along her musical journey, signing with record label Groove Note and releasing albums featuring songs that were also used on various international television and film programs. Jacintha also appeared on the small screen in Singapore, including a stint as a judge on the second season of Singapore Idol. Jacintha Abisheganaden remains a much-loved artist among Singaporeans. Her performance of the Beauty World theme at the 2022 National Day Parade reflected her place in our history. Today, we have the privilege to feature her in our studio. Hey, I'm sure you love to see her in action. Welcome the one and only Jacintha Abisheganaden. Hi, Ja!
Hi.
You are so beautiful
Oh my gosh.
and so glamorous.
It's really nice to be with you and be here. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I can't
Thank
take
you
my
so much.
eyes off you. I know we've really gone a long way.
We've come a long way. We've come a
Yeah.
long way since
That
I
is
was a
true.
kid, really.
I know we were all kids then, but we were not playing along the longgangs, of course.
Oh, we were playing on TV.
Yeah, that's right. You're right. Relate your journey, your life story as a stage actress, as a singer. How did it all begin?
My journey really began on radio with a show called The Voice and the Guitar. I was 12 years old, and Joyce Hannon was hosting a live audience live radio show, and she got my dad to play the guitar, and I was singing. Well, at the time it was all folksy stuff, Peter, Paul, and Mary was. I mean, this was what was being played on the radio. So I sang, "Where have all the flowers gone?" So with the guitar and with a live audience, it was quite challenging with the audience, but that rapport with the live audience was very immediate. So from there, I went on to do television work with Go Guan Xiu, who very much later in my life appeared at my father's doorstep to learn guitar again. So it was quite fun. We hung out for lunch many years later, but she gave me my break, and so did Kenneth Liang on TV. But I began young, singing on variety shows on television. So that I think I caught that bug early on.
True.
And it didn't.
Then you went into
it didn't
talent time,
go
right?
away.
Yeah,
Then we went.
you were
we
with
decided to.
Cheong and company.
Yes,
yeah, when you
who
took
I
part.
still talk to every day.
That's right.
I talk to Xiao Chong almost every day now. So keep your old friends. They're really beautiful.
I know.
That's
yeah,
right.
So cool. I know. You know, Ja, I know your dad and your mom, they're all into music, you know. Did it rub off onto you, you know, when you were young?
Rub
that
off.
Music. Always in our blood.
Well, just to give you an idea, we lived down the road from here. I grew up at 84 Jalan Pemimpin.
Oh.
So that's literally down the road from here. But my house was just full of musicians day and night. So if you came home from school, there would be like 3 cellists and an oboist in the living room, because they all belonged. All these musicians belonged to my uncle's orchestra. He started the first chamber orchestra, and he started the first orchestra in Singapore called the Chamber Ensemble. Then from an ensemble, it became the Chamber Ensemble Orchestra.
Wow.
So it was like full strings, full winds. So lots of cellists and oboists, and they were always rehearsing for a show. And my father and mother were the hosts for rehearsals. So there'd be a lot of cars parked outside my house or in my house. You could never do any work. So I'd run to my room, and mostly just angry because if everyone's in the living room, you can't watch TV. That was the main the main objective of being a child or being a teenager, really. And it went on for years and years. So I've got a bit of a trigger switch with classical music. It's not a love-hate. It's definitely a deep love. But play me classical music and I'm 9 again, or I'm 12 again, because they were always live music in your living room is quite an incandescent thing.
Cool.
It's quite a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that was with Uncle Paul, right?
That was for my Uncle Paul.
Yeah,
But the musicians were fun. They were young. And it wasn't chaotic for some reason, because I learned very early on that if you want to be a musician or you want to be in the arts, it is all about schedules. So you keep that schedule, you be on time, and you get your homework done. And it was the same. And so for me, that was a very good thing to discipline yourself on. So we kept a lot of the schedules. And you can then have a school life, a music life, TV life, radio life.
But where does acting come in?
So I met Dick Lee when I was 15. And his first cousin is Lim Kay Tong. And the story with Kay Tong and myself goes on kind of forever, because it was Kay Tong who I started theatre works with. In fact, I married my music life with my theatre life. I introduced Lim Kay Tong to Lim Xiao Chong, who I won the Talent Time with. And we started theatre works. So as a creative, I'm a creative, what you call, so I don't get into a lot of the nitty-gritty of forming a company and doing all that. But getting the people to get involved and produce shows and then have a repertoire for a year. You have to have a yearly repertoire for a theatre company. And so Theatre Works was born. But that I had finished my education, so to speak. So I was in university, and this networking is really, really very important. When you have great relationships and you can bring people together, I think that's the glue of many. Well, it was the glue at the time for much of our local inspiration for theatre, TV, and music. So I've always championed music, theatre, and television, actually. And the missing link, which nobody saw, was that after I decided to push the local theatre scene, I went after the local TV scene, but it was local. And it was definitely with the TV genius of Kenneth Liang. Because he is, you need an excellent curator. And he is by far, I mean, I'm speaking deep arts language. He is a curator par excellence. He lets you be, and he knows who to draw in. And then he knows commercially what is needed. That commercial touch, nobody can buy. Because you can be very artsy-fartsy, and then it goes nowhere. Do you know what I'm saying?
That's my boss. Cool.
So I really want to compliment the people whom I've worked with along this journey. They have been extremely instrumental, but at the same time, extremely practical. And this is where practicality and the arts can really work. This is why I'm sitting in front of 20-year-old interns who are studying in media now. There was no such thing in my day.
Yes. You were with Groove Note
I
for
am
about
with
20
Groove Note.
years, you know. You started, I think, in 1998, right? Your very first album?
It's a lovely story.
Yeah, that's right.
So Ying Tan was sort of a childhood friend, contemporaries as it were. And what he was doing, which was genius at the time, was remastering old records, old albums. And when you remaster, you're putting it out commercially again.
Yes.
So you take a Charlie Bird album from 1957 or, something from the early 60s, and it's you have to buy the rights.
Yeah.
And you can't just take something and redo it. You have to pay. Yeah, we all pay. You have to pay your dues and buy the rights, and then you own the album, as it were. Now with that, you have to make new master tapes. And so what he was doing at the time where we met again, because Cheong had given him a demo, literally a demo. So I've auditioned in the best possible way for the best possible parts of my life. I went to Taiwan. I was working with Music and Movement, and I got to meet Rick Smith, who was working at the Hyatt, and he said, "Hey, Jacintha, come and make a demo with us." And I was like, I don't need a demo. I'm so arrogant. But everyone needs a demo. We all need demos. And so we went into the studio on a Sunday, which is incredible. Musicians offering you their Sunday time is incredible.
Yeah.
And 4 musicians played for me, and I did 4 songs on a cassette, which is very tinny sound, actually. And it was, and of course I didn't have a copy. So I just had this, here you go. And I'm like, okay. So I keep this. And when it came time, I was able to wake up and pass it to Cheong, who was in touch with Ying. And how we started Groove Note is another story, because he was remastering, as I'm explaining. So he had Analog Archive, which is his company, registered, right? And so out of that, Groove Note was born. But how do you make albums in Hollywood? You have to know everybody if you're making non-digital albums, and you have to pay a lot of personal money to make this. And so Ying Tan sold his wine collection to his brother, who's also Ying Tan. But his brother happens to be a master of wine, and there are only 6 in the world. So it's Ying Tan selling his wine collection to his brother, who is also Ying Tan. So Ying Jian sold to Ying Xian. But it's a very cute story, and we were able to. You need fresh money, and Ying Tan doesn't believe in. He didn't want to be beholden to Singapore sponsors at the time. They have a lot of pre-clauses, and then maybe they want to throw in a Chinese song, which Jacintha wasn't able to do. Or something. So nothing uncomfortable for the singer or something like that. So we were able to do Here's to Ben. In order to do Here's to Ben, you have to buy these classic American songbook titles, and by buying a title, it means you have to pay for copyright.
Yes, you're right.
So literally paying for copyright to sing Danny Boy and Somewhere Over the Rainbow. It's a huge deal.
Yeah.
So we started off with Here's to Ben, which is a classic jazz audiophile.
Ben Webster.
Yes. And it was in tribute to Ben Webster, who used to play in Duke Ellington's band, as it were, or, well, orchestra, as it were. Ben Webster's sound was classic because he put a lot of air through his saxophone, and it wasn't a shiny pop saxophone. It was kind of a dull gold thing. But he put with that air to put as much air with that sound. It takes a lot of work. Came a lot of breathy feeling. So I didn't traditionally copy that, but the songs are in tribute to Ben Webster. So
it was a cool one. I remember. I remember the album. Yeah, and then you did the second one.
Well, I've done 10.
Yes,
I've
that's
done
right.
10 with Groove Note,
with
and
Groove
they're
Note.
still out there, as it were. So I'm feeling for maybe my last one. Ying says I might have one last Hollywood go at it.
When will that be?
Oh, well, the last time I felt I needed to do an album, it was a James Taylor tribute.
Yeah,
and
Fire and Rain?
But it took 3 years
so
to
cool.
convince, you can't convince Ying Tan just like that.
Yep.
You need to kind of talk to him for 2 years, and then, well, it's a lot of money to make. It's a lot of personal money to invest in Hollywood. You have to pay for musicians, and the studio was the same one as Chris Martin and people like that.
Okay.
So it's state of the art, not an old place at all. And I mean, it's just beautiful. And he got me James Taylor's original players. I mean, that's how he does things. So I'm in awe of Ying Tan. He's quite an amazing, Ying Jian. I named my son Ying Jian.
Really?
After him, yeah.
Oh, Alexander's
It's quite a nice story. It's quite, yes, he's
so
Ying
cool.
Jian.
Oh, cool. Now, Fire and Rain, I think you recorded in Hollywood was in what? 2018, 2017?
2017.
Yeah, you
yeah,
recorded
lovely.
it. So
Thank you for
cool.
knowing that.
Yeah, and I noticed
So that was a
you've
departure.
also,
That was the first departure from trad jazz,
I see.
as it were. We did bossa nova.
Yeah.
I did a Mandarin album with Hiskandar Ismail in Singapore, but it was also mastered by Bernie Granman.
Okay.
And all my albums have been engineered by Michael Ross, who did Christina Aguilera's 12-inch remix of What a Girl Wants.
Wow, that's really cool.
And worked with some of the best, like Barry White.
Yeah.
Very nice, very nice.
know.
But these are industry people, as
I
you know,
see.
inside people who really just have worked. And I'd like to be someone like that. I'd like to stay and, you know, don't feel pressured to, what's your next album? What's your next album? What's your latest? You have to kind of feel for what you want to do. And so I've always said, Christmas album? No. So I think I'm working with, you know, highly professional people who know what they're doing. And
because you know your work.
Who know
your job.
But they
too.
know my audience.
Yes, and you have the
They
talent
know who
too.
buys what.
Correct.
So my new product is reel to reel.
Okay.
It's really lovely.
Okay, good.
They sell for $699, so it's not a children's toy.
I know.
It's kind of a, you know, toys for boys. It's true. You have to buy a reel to reel. These are new machines. But it's fun, and they do what you knew how to do years and years ago, which is deal with tape.
Okay.
And to put it in and to
those were the analog days.
Well, I'm an analog girl.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm a jazz.
You know, Jai, you
Audiophile
have this.
analog.
Yes, you have this illustrious career on stage as an actress. Do you find that your stage experience has given you some experience when you sing?
Well, of course.
It does, right?
Yeah, but you have to be in the main thing I learned from being on stage. I'm getting a bit excited here talking about.
No, I wish we could go
literally
on.
going on about my life.
Yeah.
The main thing about being on stage or being behind a camera is that no matter what, you have to stay in the moment, and the moment is now. The moment is now when I'm lifting my hand and saying whatever I want to say. And if you go into yourself and go into a hoo-hoo place, you've lost them. You've lost the connection with your audience, as it were. And so what you have to say, which is to bring whatever words or actions or intent of the playwright or the script writer,
Cool.
you have to bear that in mind. And yet the main thing is present. How do you present?
How do you present?
So you have to stay in the moment is the best thing I learned about staying on stage. So if I lose it and I get into space in my head, then you know you've lost that connection, which is kind of kinetic. You've got to keep the energy in the room. It is palpable energy.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, how are you
It's
moving
like
forward now?
dead air time on radio.
You're right. All right. My last question is like, how are you looking forward, to your this passion in you, music, acting,
Well, as a working professional, what you want is to translate all that lovely language into shows, or into albums, or into products. And I believe that you still have to front that. What I'm looking forward to is I think I'm doing SIFA 2023. So that's Singapore International Festival of the Arts. And I've been asked to headline a show next year, which is a marriage of probably theatre and singing, which is what I want to bring. So I have a nice idea for next year, and I hope they'll keep that what we say slot open for me. But it's probably going to be a huge-ish production. So I hope to do that, and I very much hope to work with the SAF 50-piece SAF big band. Big band.
Okay.
Can you imagine? So
we'll
it's
look
like
forward
going back
to that then. Yeah, we'll look forward to that.
So you do need to translate your life into products and shows.
Correct.
After that, I've been invited to headline the Serbian Jazz Festival.
Oh my gosh.
So, parts of my life are kind of gelling together. And although it seems like too far in the future, it's
not.
It's just next June, and you have to kind of prepare by January.
Cool. Well, I really
and in
wish
between, thank you so much. In between,
I
I
wish
just
you
hope
for
to do a
that
few
you've
gigs
done,
with Jeremy Montero or with Dick Lee. And just work on stage and work with my old friends. Really, that's what I look forward to, working with my old friends like you. It's been a great honor and a great pleasure to be with you again.
No, but it's an honor having you. Yeah, my lovely lady.
Thank you.
It's really a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Now, you told me that you're going to do a song for us.
I am going to do a song.
Okay, let's hear it from the one and only Jacintha.
No complaints and no regrets. I still believe in chasing dreams and placing bets. For I have learned that all you give is all you get. So give it all you've got. I had my share, I drank my fill, and even though I'm satisfied, I'm hungry still to see what's down another road beyond a hill, and do it all again. So here's to life and every joy it brings. Here's to life, to dreamers and their dreams. Funny how the time just flies, how love can go from warm hellos to sad goodbyes and leave you with the memories you've memorized to keep your winters warm. For there's no yes in yesterday, and who knows what tomorrow brings or takes away. As long as I'm still in the game, I wanna play for laughs, for life, for love. So here's to life and every joy it brings. Here's to life, to dreamers and their dreams. May all your storms be weathered, and all that's good get better. Here's to life, here's to love, here's to you. May all your storms be weathered, and all that's good get better. Here's to life, here's to love, here's to you.
Oh my, it's such
Hey,
a
Belle.
joy listening to you. Really a nightingale in song.
Thank you so much.
Here's to life.
Here's to life.
And I'm sure all of you out there enjoy it. This is my good friend, Jacintha. Welcome to our next show, I'm sure, when she returns with me again for more chit-chats. Until then, Belinda Sunshine here and
Jacintha.
checking out from When We Were Young. Goodbye. We love you.